an English learning adventure. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Everdale, there lived a young woman named Emma. She was passionate about learning languages, but English had always been a challenge for her. Despite reading books and watching movies, she struggled with fluency and confidence when speaking. One evening, while wandering through the old streets of Everdale, Emma stumbled upon a dimly lit alleyway. At the end of it stood an ancient bookshop with a wooden sign that read, "The Mysterious Bookshop, Unlock the Magic of Words." Intrigued, she pushed open the heavy oak door, and a small bell jingled above her head. Inside, the shop smelled of old parchment and ink. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, filled with books of all kinds. An elderly man with silver-rimmed glasses stood behind the counter, observing her with a kind smile. "Welcome, dear reader," he said. "You have found a special place. How may I help you?" Emma hesitated before replying, "I want to improve my English, but I find it difficult to speak fluently." The old man nodded knowingly. "Then you are in the right place. Words are not just learned, they must be lived." He pulled out a dusty book with golden edges and handed it to her. The title shimmered in the candlelight, "The Speaking Spell, A Journey Through Words." Curious, Emma opened the book, and suddenly, a gust of wind swirled around her. The pages began to glow, and before she could react, she was pulled into the book. Trial 1, The Listening Labyrinth. Emma found herself standing in a grand maze filled with towering walls covered in glowing symbols. She heard whispers floating through the air, and as she walked forward, she realized the walls were speaking to her in English. Some voices were fast, some slow, and others had accents she struggled to understand. To pass through this labyrinth, you must listen carefully, Leo explained. The walls will give you instructions, and you must follow them precisely. Emma paused, straining her ears. Turn left at the red lantern, 1 voice instructed. She hesitated, repeating the words in her mind. Slowly, she followed the command and found herself in a narrow corridor. Another voice whispered, "Take 5 steps forward and look up." She obeyed, and a golden key appeared above her. The labyrinth challenged her to distinguish words, understand nuances, and focus on pronunciation. At times, she misheard instructions and found herself at dead ends, but each mistake taught her patience and perseverance. She started recognizing different accents, understanding context, and picking up new phrases she had never heard before. Finally, after what felt like hours, she reached the exit. Listening is the foundation of fluency, Leo said. You are learning to hear the language as it is spoken. Emma smiled. She felt her ears attuning To English like never before. Trial 2, The River of Reading. Emma arrived at a shimmering river with books floating on the surface. The water was crystal clear, reflecting words that danced like fireflies. A bridge was nowhere in sight. Leo gestured toward the books. To cross, you must read aloud. The river will respond to your voice. Emma picked up a book titled Tales of the Enchanted Forest. She hesitated but began reading. Once upon a time, in a land far away. Her voice trembled at first, but as she continued, the words felt more natural. With each sentence, the river rippled, and stepping stones emerged from the water. She picked up another book, this one filled with poetry. The sky whispers secrets to the moon, and the stars listen in silent tune. She noticed how different styles of writing influenced pronunciation and rhythm. As she progressed, she discovered new words, their meanings unfolding through context. She learned synonyms, antonyms, and idioms naturally. The river's magic seemed to embed the words into her memory. With her confidence growing, she reached the other side. Leo clapped. Reading strengthens vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension. The more you read, the more you will understand and remember. Emma realized that reading aloud had transformed her speech, making it more fluid and expressive. Trial 3, The Valley of Vocabulary. The valley before Emma was a breathtaking sight: lush green fields, trees bearing golden fruit, and birds chirping words instead of songs. Words hung from branches like ripe apples, each glowing with its meaning. This valley holds the key to expressive speech, Leo said. To pass, you must gather words and use them correctly. Emma walked forward and plucked a shimmering word. Eloquent. She whispered, his speech was eloquent, filled with grace and confidence. The valley responded, glowing brighter. She picked another, serene. The lake was so serene that it mirrored the sky perfectly. With each word, her vocabulary grew, and she realized the power of descriptive language. She found verbs that added action, adjectives that painted vivid images, and adverbs that gave precision. She encountered a puzzle tree where scrambled letters formed a word. Solving them unlocked their meanings. Tenacity, the ability to persist despite challenges, she murmured. It was a word she felt deeply connected to. After collecting hundreds of words and using them in creative sentences, she crossed the valley, feeling more articulate than ever. Trial 4, The Tower of Talking. Before Emma stood a magnificent tower with spiral staircases. Each level requires you to hold a conversation, Leo explained. At the first door, a merchant greeted her. Tell me about your favorite food, he asked. Emma hesitated but responded, I Love pasta, especially with a rich tomato sauce and fresh basil. The door opened, and she climbed higher. The second level had a traveler who asked, "Describe your hometown." Emma replied, "It's a small town surrounded by mountains, where the air is fresh and the streets are lined with cozy cafes." Each level introduced more complex conversations, debates, storytelling, explanations. As she progressed, she became comfortable with small talk, discussions, and even persuasive speech. Reaching the top, she felt transformed. Speaking improves when practiced consistently, Leo reminded her. The more you talk, the more natural it becomes. Trial 5, The Chamber of Courage. The final challenge was the grandest yet. Emma stood in an ornate hall filled with an audience. "Now, tell your own story," Leo said. Emma took a deep breath and began. She spoke of her journey in Lexiconia, describing each trial vividly. She used new words effortlessly, her confidence soaring. As she finished, the hall erupted in applause. The book glowed, and she was transported back to the bookshop. The old man smiled. "You have lived the language. Now, go and continue your journey." From that day on, Emma spoke English fluently, inspiring others to learn through stories. Moral of the story: learning English or any language is an adventure. By listening, reading, expanding vocabulary, practicing speaking, and gaining confidence, anyone can achieve fluency. Let the power of stories guide you on your journey.